Instead, let's disrupt the established narrative, okay? Let's discuss what could make a difference. And we're going to start with a man who does what he can to shine a light on the realities in America. Mike Rowe, I am a big fan, and I'm sure you are too, and not just because of his TV fame and his work, which is amazing, but he is also the founder of the Mike Rowe Works Foundation. He helps people through scholarships and guidance and mentoring and introducing them to the realities of fortune and of real value in society that can be found through the trades. And he joins us now to talk about where we are and what we need. Good to see you, big brother.
You flatter me. I'm so honored to be a non-traditional talking head. I promise to be as interesting as possible.
You are uncommon because you, my friend, do not play the game. And you are all over the country, and you're seeing where people are. You're seeing their confusion at what their leaders are doing. What do you think would make a difference in this speech tonight? Because he's going to get a big audience.
Look, I'm always a big fan of acknowledging the self-evident. I would say a couple of things that could hopefully get everybody watching nodding in agreement, which is hard to do these days, right? Not that he's asked for my advice, and I don't really expect to hear too much of that, frankly. On a personal level, there are two things that I'll be listening for. The first is this $34 trillion in debt that I don't hear anybody talking about. It's always there, Chris, and it's always getting larger. I remember when it was $1 trillion. Now it's $34 trillion. And from everything I've read, when we get to 50, game over. We don't even have the GDP to support to service that debt. So I would love for somebody to talk more about the practical reality of that thing and how it's going to impact all of us. But you know me, my lane is pretty simple. I am a firm believer that we've got our education system upside down. I see some good news. I think people are starting to question the primacy of a 4-year degree. I think a lot of reasonable people are beginning to understand that the best path for the most people can't be the most expensive. I know I'm a broken record on it, but we've got 10 million open jobs right now. Most of them don't require a 4-year degree. We got $1.7 trillion on the books in student loans, and we're having a big conversation about whether or not they should be forgiven or what portion should be forgiven. This is a giant issue. It impacts everybody. And to the extent I'm able, I'm using my foundation to shine a light on those 9-10 million jobs that are open now. We've got $1 million over at microworks.org. We are taking applications as we speak. And I would love, like in my fantasy of fantasies, I would love to hear the president talk about the need for a more persuasive national campaign to get parents and guidance counselors and kids thinking differently about the definition of a good job and to make the opportunities that are available front and center.
Well, look, you know several things. One, of course, I'm not asking you as a political analyst. I wouldn't cheapen you that way. It's that you have spent so much time getting to understand this part of the country and by actually helping them. And you happen to be dead right. Now, the good news is you're going to hear what you want about the debt. Now, we both know why politicians only talk about it with a very fixed narratives, because they have every intention to add to it. They all talk about reducing it, but they all know they stay in office by giving things to districts, and that's about, pork. And the old division of fiscal austerity on the right versus wanting to spend on social programs on the left, that's all gone. We saw that in the last administration. They'll all add to it. On the second one, though, let's take another step down that road, Mike. Why don't politicians realize the reality, even with the crazy on campus that they were all using as a cudgel against diversity, equity, and inclusion? Why didn't they use it equally, at least, if not more so, as a springboard into the, you don't have to do it this way? The open jobs we have are not in law firms, okay? They are not in the English teaching departments. They are not in marketing and in PR. They're in the trades.
The most charitable analysis I can give you is comes down to cookie cutter advice. It comes down to bromides. And it comes down to, look, most elected officials need one size all fits, right? They need to talk in platitudes because they want to get elected, and a lot of people are listening. So look, this is a fairly nuanced topic, right? If you're going to talk about a person's education, then you have to be talking to an individual. But the politicians can't talk to an individual. They have to talk to constituents, and they have to talk to large groups. And so I believe they get it into their heads that the goal is not to say the smartest thing. It's to not blow yourself up by saying the dumbest thing. But it all just gets
But they're always
lost.
looking for fresh stuff. And this checks every box. To every kind of community. It's equally everywhere in the country. I mean, Mike and I talk about this all the time, but you know it in your own lives. If there was a God forbid in your life, like right this moment, and it involved getting a lawyer, we all know you're like 2 phone calls away from getting a lawyer on the phone, right? If you needed something that was service-oriented, okay, in terms of soft services, like getting advertising help or marketing help. I mean, there's people looking for work all over the place. If something happened to your toilet, if all of a sudden your HVAC system goes out, now, how hard, unless, you know, you're a real man or woman who has skills and knows how to do it yourself, how long is it going to take you to get somebody to your house? And we all know you ain't going to be price shopping because you'll be desperate for whatever you can get. And yet they ignore it. And the best I can come up with, Mike, is because that ain't the game. The game isn't about doing what you want to do, which is to be obsessed with better. This is a battle of dementia versus demented. That's what this campaign is being looked at. That Biden has lost his mind, right? And the left says that Trump is evil. It is demented, a madman versus a man who's lost his mind. You think we can get anything better than that tonight?
If this country was a restaurant, right? 330 million people walked in, and they looked at the menu, and they're going, "Really? this is it, right?" And look, with great respect to both candidates, half of the country is allergic to half of the menu. And look, somewhere in this thing, keep an eye on RFK. He's saying some things that nobody else is saying. And there's going to be another menu item on this. And a lot of these issues, I think, we've got plenty of time to look at it and kick the tires.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.